Hey, welcome back to the Modern Math Teacher podcast on another episode of Poolside PD. I'm your host, Kristen Moore, and I'm so excited to be with you today, diving into a topic that is all about the three R's. And no, I'm not talking real, relevant, and rigorous. I am talking this time about rhythm, routine, and reliability. We are talking about having a consistency in your classroom cadence. So, just like I strongly believe that connection is key to student engagement in your content, consistency is key in student connection to your classroom. All right. So if you've ever felt like you are stuck and classes are a little bit chaotic between periods and you're struggling to keep your students on track, then this episode is for you. We are going to talk all about why consistency is crucial, how it benefits both you and your students, and I'll be sharing some practical sample class structures and cadences to help you lesson plan for both 50 and 80-minute class periods. So let's go ahead and get started. First up, let's talk about why consistency in your classroom cadence or your classroom structure is so important. All right, guys, establishing a routine and maintaining expectations can significantly impact the learning environment in a positive way. And here are a few key reasons as to why. Number one, routine establishment. Having a consistent structure is going to help students know what to expect each day. This predictability allows them to focus more on the content and less on figuring out what's going to happen next. Building off of that, we've got number two, maintaining expectations. When our students know the routine, they understand what's expected of them at each point in the class. This clarity is going to help reduce confusion and keeps them accountable for what is happening in the classroom. Number three is safety and security. This predictable routine provides a sense of security for our students. They feel more comfortable and confident when they know what to expect, which can, of course, reduce anxiety and create a more conducive learning environment. And that is big number four, reduction of anxiety. Knowing the structure of the class can help reduce anxiety, especially for our students who may struggle with uncertainty or change. So, a consistent classroom routine means they can anticipate what's coming, making the classroom feel like more of a safe space. Now, these four things are crucial. If you want your students to be engaged in the classroom, to be present, to be there, to be focused, to be with you in it to win it for the learning, you've got to have those four things. Again, that's routine establishment, maintaining expectations, safety and security, and reduction of anxiety, all coming about through consistency. And what's awesome is that this consistency is going to benefit you as well. If you set up each of your class periods to follow the same format, that is going to be less stress and overwhelm for you when you are lesson planning, when you are finding activities and resources. You have this cadence, this expectation that you and your students have come to know and love in your classroom. So, let's talk about some sample class structures of what your lesson plan or class time might look like. And we're going to cover two different ones here. So I'm going to cover for like a 45, 50-minute class, what I would do and how that would go. And then what I would do if I had more of like that 80-minute block structure class. Okay. So first up, the 50-ish minute class. So always start with some sort of entry routine and warm up. I want you guys to, as much as possible, greet your students at the door. Try not to just be like frazzled between classes. It's so nice to just be that calm, welcoming presence. Okay. And then as they come in, have a warm up activity or quick review problem on the board for students to work on as they settle in. Then move to your active problem solving or thinking task. So this is where, you're going to present a challenging problem or a thinking task related to the day's lesson. Maybe you've got the kids up at the whiteboards. Maybe they're just, with their table teams, problem solving, whatever it is you want to do. Allow the students to work in these small groups to tackle that problem, again, for about 15 minutes. So 5 minutes for our entry routine and warm up, another 15 for active problem solving and thinking tasks. And then you want to move into that like mini lesson or consolidation or notes. Okay. So this is where you are solidifying that learning. So you want to deliver a concise mini lesson that addresses the key concepts that we uncovered as a class during that time. Okay. Use that time to consolidate learning and ensure that students take those important notes from what it was you did in that activity. And especially in a 50-minute block, and if you are crunched for time, I really want you to consider adding in video notes, going through additional example problems, or covering those key concepts again. Okay. This is going to provide opportunities for students to hear it multiple times. They may not understand it in that 10-minute classroom consolidation you have. They may need to hear it again. They may need to hear it in a different way. Plus, any student who missed class can still access what was learned. So, double win. Students who need extra processing time get that second opportunity. Students who were absent get the benefit of knowing something from the lesson, whether they got to experience that thinking task or not. Okay. From there, I want you to think about moving on to in class practice opportunities. This is so that you can go bop around the classroom and offer support and check for understanding and figure out who needs what level of help there, right? So, provide practice problems or activities that reinforce the day's lesson. This is when I typically use something like a Delta math activity for them to do and just kind of check themselves along the way. Okay. And then if you can, have an exit ticket or at least an end of class routine. So you can always have your students complete an exit ticket that reflects on their learning or poses a question about the lesson or, is a sample problem based on the lesson. Collect those exit tickets as your students leave the room, and then you can kind of sort them into like they know it, they don't know it. That's going to give you better data to make decisions for the next day. Okay. Now, if you have an 80-minute period, you've got some more flexibility to dive deeper into the content and provide more varied activities. So, this is what I have right now. And this is pretty similar to how I run my classroom. So, I've got an entry routine where I greet my students, pretty much at the door between almost every class period I'm out there. And then they come in and they have an attendance question. I love that because I get to hear from each and every student along the way at the beginning of the day. I can kind of get a sense for what their energy level is. And I know who's absent then, right? Plus bonus, then take in attendance, obviously. So I particularly love Ed Tomorrow's First Five. I'm going to link it in the show notes. It's a completely free resource, newsletter, comes into your mailbox every day, 7 a.m. It's got questions for check-ins. It's got quotes you can use for check-ins. It's got like honestly 5 questions you can use for a check-in. It's got quotes. It's got different like meme things. You're going to love it. You have to get it. Link in the show notes. Use it if you can. So I've got that. And then we want to follow that up with a warm up. So this is something I want to actually add more to in my classes this year. So this can be, even a little bit of a longer warm up if you want. You could, do a super quick Kahoot or Quizlet or something to get the students practicing and thinking about the math that you're going to be covering for that day or just reviewing an old skill. Okay. So because you've got that 10 minutes there instead of just 5, I would make that a little bit beefier. Okay. Then we're going to move on to that active problem solving or that thinking task. You can give about 20 minutes for this now because you've got that extra time. So you can, again, present a more complex problem or a problem solving task and allow ample time for discussion, collaboration, and exploration of the problem. You're really going to be able to have a chance to circulate to each of the boards if you're doing it up at whiteboards, or to bop around to each of the tables if you're doing table team problem solving, and really just kind of capture that student learning, which is going to make the next session, your mini lesson consolidation notes, go a little bit smoother because you're able to select and sequence who is going to be sharing at what time. That's kind of the benefit of the longer class period. When you're in a 50-minute class period, it you can do it for sure, but it might, take some practice. Practice. There we go. Practice makes progress, right? Okay. So again, problem solving task about 20 minutes. Your consolidation can be more like 15. So you've got a little bit of extra time, but our students don't have a whole lot of extra attention span. So make sure that you are letting them do a fair share of the talking in that time, presenting what their ideas were, and then you're connecting those dots for them. Okay. Um, so make sure that they are taking that consolidation and turning it into notes in whatever way that you do your notes. All right, then you've got more time for in-class practice opportunities. Your students may not even end up with homework, which honestly isn't the worst. Our kids are busy. They got a lot of things to do. They don't necessarily have a lot of math support at home. So I like that my students can pretty much always finish the math class assignment in math class with me. So you can also do a lot of different opportunity or practice opportunities outside of just like a Delta math or a Khan Academy math if you've got this 25 minutes in class time. So just things to think about. And then again, having some sort of exit ticket or end of class routine to summarize what they learned. You can add a little bit of self assessment in here and have them drop it into like self assessment bins, which is a great way to do it. Like, hey, I did this exit ticket. This is what my answer is, or, whatever it was that I got. And I feel like I'm at a 4 with it, or I feel like I'm at a 2 with it. And Miss Moore, you better be checking on me tomorrow. Okay. Okay. So again, if you've got 80 minutes, what I'm saying is 10-ish minutes for your entry routine, 20 minutes for problem solving or thinking tasks. That's enough to get them up, moving, activated without feeling overwhelmed or unsure. And then moving on to like a 10, 15-minute notes and consolidations, 25 minutes for practice, and some sort of exit ticket or end of class routine. Whew. Okay. So those are our 2 sample cadences for a 50-minute and an 80-minute class period. And remember, you guys, like, you can have some flexibility with how long each of these things take, but consistency in your classroom cadence is key. It's not just about sticking to a rigid schedule and following exactly what my minute markers were for that, okay? It's about creating a predictable and supportive environment where your students can thrive. So by establishing a routine, whether it's the ones I provided just a minute ago or creating your own, you're setting the stage for a successful learning experience day after day. So I wrote sample cadences, gave you a solid starting point for structuring your class periods. Remember, the goal is to find a rhythm that works for you and your students, making adjustments as you need to fit into your unique classroom dynamics. You are the expert of your classroom. I'm never going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to give you ideas for what you can implement. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining me on this episode of the Modern Math Teacher Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with your fellow educators and leave a review. And don't forget to follow us on social media and check in with us in the Modern Math Teachers Facebook group. Until next time, you guys, keep making math moments, keep enjoying the sunshine, and as always, keep it real.